Motion?
Second.
I heard Alkaham and Paul. Resolved that the Board of Ed does hereby resume the meeting in open session. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4 ayes, 3 absent. Meeting went into open at 6:51 p.m. Alright, so that was resolution number 4. Okay. So now we're back in open. We're just gonna go through our study session items. We just listed them in no particular order. So if there's anything you guys wanna discuss first, we can, but I can review the board calendar while Jim gets settled in. So our regular meeting, which includes our budget hearing, is going to be Thursday, June 27th. We've been the only consistent board members right now. Are we all still available on Thursday, the 27th, to have this meeting?
Yes.
Okay, and Paul said yes. I'll be yes.
Available, yeah.
Thank you so much. We traditionally cancel our July meeting, so that's gonna be canceled. Everyone enjoy your summer break. And then we're gonna go back to first Wednesdays. So our August 7th meeting is happening August 7th. We might use the new building on Kona for that meeting. We'll wait for updates as they come in. I think we should be settled enough to have internet to stream and the mics can move over. And then September 4th, regular time, regular place. There's no need to change the location. So that's all we have on that. Does anyone know they're gonna be absent for the 7th or the 4th yet? I feel like the 4th is next to a holiday. Is there a holiday the first Monday of September?
Labor Day.
Is it Labor Day?
Second.
Then
Oh.
our first day back is that Tuesday.
Oh, okay, that's fine. All right, then it's not a vacation week. Yeah, so we'd be okay. All right, then we'll wait for Jim to come back, and we're gonna go over for a few study session items, and then I think we'll be done. Yeah. Yep. Okay, and then public participation, and then we can go. All right, Jim, we're ready for you.
I'm gonna sit here so I
Yeah,
can.
yeah.
Okay, I'll start from the top.
Yep. Okay, so everything, we're looking at the upcoming election language. Yeah.
To do that, I first want to, go over the L 4029 with you. This is a document that, we take our millage and then we take the growth rate from around the county and the average for the district. And if we're over the average, we lower our rate a little bit. And, if we're, otherwise we're unaffected. So, as you can see, the recreation, there's a factor of 0.9822. So our millage went from, first it was authorized at 4.467. Over the years, it's been lowered because of inflation to 4.0998. And this past year, inflation factor drove it down a little bit further to 4.0268. And this expires in December of 2025.
Yeah.
Going up to the non-homestead millage, that's what we're concerned about. This did not reduce, but originally when it was passed, you take the 17.23 and the 1 adds up to 18.23. You can only collect up to 18 mils. But over the years, this is also decreased. So starting the year, we're at 16.4837 and 0.9565. Now,
Yeah.
we were talking about this before. This actually expires in December of 25, not this year. Okay. But I would say, and then also when I go into the countywide enhancement millage, the presidential election is a free election. So anything that goes on the presidential election, you don't have to pay for. Now, if it's a non-presidential election, the district has to pay for printing, for, people to staff the polls and everything. So the timeline, we'll have board action on June 27th. It has to be submitted by August 13th, which we're approving it 27th. We should have plenty of time, and election is on the 5th. Let's see if I can get
Right. So I'm reading the language for the ballot. What, do we want to go for the limit of 18 mils, or should we try to aim for something lower?
That is a great question. If I get to where it's at, I'll be able to explain that a little bit more.
Okay.
Is it under PDF, or
Yeah, so
is it this one?
is this a resolution?
No, that's that's the countywide enhancement. Let's see if it's this one.
Those were the 4 documents that we got in the email.
Okay, well, great question.
Yeah.
So what we're actually going to do is renew the 18 mils and then add 2 mils to it. So then we'll be asking for 20 mils, the most you can collect is 18. So over time, this will be a 20-year millage.
Okay.
So over time, this will decrease down to the 18 mils and possibly subsequently below. And then when it does that, you do what's called a Headley override
Which
So-
is
to go back up to the 18 mils. Because right now, we are below the 18 mils. We're actually losing about $80,000 a year
Okay.
because the state looks at, I know you probably don't remember back to the budget amendment, but a part of the state foundation is we have to collect 18 mils locally before we receive money.
okay.
So the state will say, you receive 18 mils, so you receive $2.5 million. We take that off the total that we're giving you, and then you get the rest from the state, if that makes sense.
Not really.
Not really.
No, because it's okay. So when we put this out to the regular voter, they're just gonna read. Hang on, I just opened up other tab. So they're gonna read the language on that, and to them, it looks like we're asking for the most you can ask for, which is 18. And then it explains that's $18 per $1,000 of taxes or whatever. And then we also wanna roll back up to 2 mils, so now we're asking them for more.
Right.
How, is there a way to simplify that even more than on the ballot, especially if someone doesn't have any more research on it?
Yeah,
it's like we
unfortunately, I mean, I think that we have to stress that,
Yeah.
if you look, it says, the increase to the amount of 20 mils with 18 mils being the maximum allowable annual levy. So it's, the most we can levy is $18 per thousand.
Right, but if someone's reading this on their ballot, it
Mhm.
doesn't look like I'm worried because I don't think we're gonna have possibly enough time to explain what this vote would be to a regular voter, and if they're just going off of this language, it just feels like you're asking me for more taxes, and then most people most likely vote no. Do you get what I'm saying?
I do.
So is there a way to simplify it?
I think that's pretty much the legal language, because you have to disclose it, that you're asking for the 2 additional mills.
Yeah, no.
But we do say that the most we can ever collect is 18 mils. So that's part of the education process.
How do the other members feel about the language, as it reads? Is there a way to get alternate language presented to us, the one up here?
I can ask if
Okay.
there's, the other option is to do a renewal. You do a renewal, we're going to be below the 18 mils, so you would only be renewing the 17 and a half.
Yeah, but
Really?
that would not be an increase to the regular rate.
That's true,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be. And this is all on, business, second homes.
Yeah, yeah. You'd be amazed at how many people pay attention to that here. I mean, people pay attention to their stuff, it's not that it's just here, but. Can I see both options, actually, can you drop it to us, and the next board report, if you have it ready?
Sure.
What renewing the existing one's language would look like, and then possibly alternate language for this one, which is asking for more.
Okay. Alright,
Is this one for the recreation or the?
no, this is the, non-homestead, the 18
Non-homestead.
mills.
Mm-hmm.
I think the community will, I mean, the residents will focus on the recreation, because this is mostly businesses,
Mm.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, they will complain about the,
what do you mean?
they will focus on what they pay in. This is all businesses.
Right, so then is there a
So-
way to add that to the language, that it wouldn't affect the regular signs?
You know,
You can do that, I think, but we have to campaign and make sure, let them know that it's not the residents paying this.
Right, but I think we can also possibly add that to the language on the ballot, if we can find a way to include that in the ballot language too.
Can
That
they-
way if we
can they
can't-
do that?
We can edit the language before we submit it, that's why I'm like, if we have a chance to look at it, we should.
Okay. If there is way, I mean,
Yeah.
then we could, yeah.
the other option is to go in 25.
Say it again?
The other option would be to go next year, cause it's not up until December of 25.
But then how much would an election cost us?
I can look back,
Yeah.
probably 20,000-30,000, if you're the only thing on the ballot.
Right, and I don't think we have anything next year as a city,
Hmm.
so, yeah, if you can show us alternate language that
Sure.
explains that this would be for people that are basically not homeowners in the city, essentially, if that language would also simplify it.
Okay.
I mean, if it's not, it's gonna cost us a lot, because we don't wanna put three resolution there, I mean, to vote.
Well,
No.
you will have recreation up next year.
Yeah, I mean, the recreation, we have to do it, because it's gonna get expired.
Mhm.
So we don't wanna do recreation in this.
But we're not
That
putting
would
recreation on this
confuse it.
ballot, are we?
No, that's next year.
So you'd still wanna pay for an election for recreation?
You would have the option of putting it on this year too.
Are we not putting it in this year, you said?
That's how I.
No,
understood it.
we're not,
Oh,
we're only doing the non-homestead at
okay.
this point. I mean, we talked about, we originally thought this expired this year,
Yeah,
so we were putting it on this year.
okay,
But we found there was a mistake on the document
Yeah.
that we submitted to the county, so.
okay. Yeah, so just alternate language, I'd like to see alternate language, and then I wanna see what the removal would look like.
The second one is, this actually, we have the countywide enhancement millage up, and this actually expires in 2027. This is a perfect example, they're going because it is a free election,
Yeah,
so they're going this time. This will be to, I believe it is 1.9 mils that they're asking for. And here's the proposal. So it's 1.9812. This brings in just over $1 million to the district. So we will need to have a resolution on this at our regular board meeting, submit it to the county. I believe they want it prior to their board meeting in July, and then they'll put it on the ballot, November ballot.
oh, can I see that language? I don't have it in the drawing. Let me see.
Yeah, here's that. So this, they're doing a renewal on this one.
So this is for the regular homeowner then?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I don't like this language either.
Well, this is a renewal language, so a little bit different.
But it's saying that you're also, it may be increased by something. So again, if someone's just reading this at the polls, they may not wanna vote on it. So if they go to the polls in November,
Mhm.
presidential race, state race, local races, and then you flip the ballot to the back, and you're gonna see 2 requests from the school district. One of them for business owners, one of them for homeowners. There are residents of Hamtramck for both. I guess what's the rationale for putting 2 and not 3 of them all at once on a ballot? Or try with one that's just affecting business owners and then,
Why don't we try it, and if it didn't work, maybe we can go back next year.
Yeah, we can go back next year because they're not
And if it
expired.
pass, we don't have to do it next year.
Yeah, I think we need to put a lot of effort into it. I mean, it's not one of those things that you wanna put it on and fail. I
That's
mean,
what I'm
if you're gonna
saying.
put it on, you really need to campaign.
well, that's what I'm thinking about. I think the one you could probably do is the one that affects business owners first. I think you can campaign for that one. Table the recreation one and this one, and then pay for that election include, see how, I guess, cause this is,
Do you wanna table the Wayne
We wanted
County?
to do it because if we didn't pass it, we can still do it next year.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're losing it.
right, but,
The Wayne County one is a county-wide, so the way that works, each district, so all the districts in Wayne County have to vote, then you have to have a majority of the districts, plus you have to have a majority of the
Wayne County.
1.4 million students in the county,
so how many other districts in this county are putting it on their ballot this year?
everybody.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna matter putting, all of them at once or not, or
So what do you
as
think?
long as
If-
we have a
If it
committee.
didn't pass in our district, but it passed in Wayne County,
I'm sorry,
if it didn't pass on the district,
it would still be, so.
but it passed on the whole county.
Yeah, if we were the only districts that, no, we don't wanna pass this, we have 3,000 students, so they would get the majority of the students, 1.397.
Okay.
And then you would have 30 some other districts saying yes. So if we said no, it would still be on our ballot, but we would be the district saying, no, we don't want to,
But if it does pass, we would
It
still
passed on
pay.
everybody.
I'm sorry?
No, I was asking, so if it does pass, you would still pay on those taxes, like it wouldn't,
Yes.
okay.
Yes, okay.
That one's fine, but it's like, I don't know, I'm thinking about flipping the back of the ballot and you see 3 different requests on your taxes. How do you think people are gonna feel?
I think
As
there would
long
be
as,
more.
as long as we campaign, properly and have a committee and advertise for it properly and educate, the residents,
Mhm.
I think we'll be fine.
But do you wanna just do the 2 or do you wanna do all 3?
I'm good with all 3, to be honest, as long as we work,
I mean, if
Work on
he's okay with campaigning with 3 of them, he's saying it's gonna be too much work.
Whether we like it or not, we're campaigning for the county one. And then the non-homestead one, I think would be an easy sell. It'd probably just be the recreation one.
right.
These are only the recreation that need to work because
Yeah. I don't know. Would you do the 3?
I feel good, we do all 3.
3 or 2? What are you feeling?
What's your recommendation?
I can see the sense if you're campaigning for the non-homestead, why not do recreation too?
Right, yeah.
I mean, you can campaign one time, get them over, you'll be done for, well, with this, for 20 years.
Right,
And recreation for,
6
know,
years at
8
least?
years, I think.
yeah,
No, 6, you
No, this one is 6. Recreation we haven't looked at yet, so we don't have the language.
Yeah.
So then can you add, then that, so adding it to your list of like getting us language for the recreation one?
Sure, yeah, no.
Okay.
Okay.
That's all my questions. Anything else?
Just prepare the campaign and make sure it's being a strong campaign, especially for.
You and I'll get him signed up to do that, right?
I'll be more than willing to, yeah.
Okay.
We need to go out there and make sure they understand.
Okay.
The next item we have on is for Detroit Public Schools operates a charter school in our district.
Mm-hmm.
It's housed at Dickerson Detention Center.
Mm-hmm.
It's operated by Capstone Charter School. So it's for incarcerated youth. So they had planned to be out of our district by June 30th of this year. They're building a facility. They don't have it done, so they're requesting that we allow them to operate until their facility is done.
One more year, pretty much.
Yeah, 1 more year.
One more school year
Mm.
would be.
I'm sorry, what was it? Can you repeat it?
Yeah.
What happens if we fail? Is there an alternative or no?
No. I mean, you would say you don't agree to them operating in our district. We're not going to serve those students though.
No, I
because-
know that, but we also don't own Dickinson Wright, so I guess why are we being asked permission?
They're asking, it's because it's within our district.
Within our district.
And the public school of a neighboring district's not gonna operate a charter school in your district without
Your
approval.
permission.
So kids that are serving jail time for whatever reason have a right to go to school, and Detroit Public Schools partners with, I'm
Capstone.
guessing, Capstone, but also, I don't know which kids they would get actually. And the district in the past has agreed to let Detroit Public use Dickinson Wright, so that facility, so it's still a prison. Feelings on that aside, so they're letting the kids get some kind of education there. Like he pointed out, they don't go to HPS, they don't use HPS facilities or staff or anything like that. But they were supposed to be out and go back to whatever building Detroit Public has created for them, but construction delays, they need to use the prison again in Hamtramck to work with the kids that are currently right now being incarcerated. So it's almost like a formality to ask our permission to use it.
Yeah.
And we do have a right to say no, and if we do, then Detroit Public is responsible for finding an alternative. And I'm not sure if the alternative is they just don't go to school. So I don't know.
Other than the kids getting, educated, is there any, benefit or advantage or disadvantage to the district?
I was gonna say, do they pay
To
us?
us,
Yes.
they don't pay us anything,
Okay.
So there's no benefit or,
no benefit. And
No
we're
cost.
not going to serve those students. So I think it's, like you're saying, you're allowing somebody to provide an education to the students.
The permission for us feels weird to me, I'm not gonna lie, like it doesn't make sense that they're asking us, but if that's the process and Wayne Reese is waiting on us, we can just talk about it now and see how we feel. I don't like the idea that kids that are in prison are still made to feel like prisoners even at school, right? Cause you're still teaching them in a jail. Personal feelings aside, I don't see the harm in helping them out again for 1 more year. Cause I still don't get it, cause we're not helping them, it's not our building, but it's our city, so it's just, to me, it would've made more sense to ask the council permission than the Board of Ed, but I wouldn't have anything against it. It sounds weird, it feels weird, I don't know where the systemic oppression is in it, I'm gonna research that for myself personally, but if this
Well,
is their only option right now.
I think a lot of it is transparency.
Yeah.
You don't want public schools going into other
public schools.
public school boundaries and
Yeah.
operating charter schools as an organizer.
I can see
Because
that, yeah.
once you start doing that, then what's with the school boundary? I mean, we have school of choice,
Yeah.
districts have school of choice, but they go to that district.
So it's a charter school, it's not even a Detroit public school.
See, I don't get the
It's-
rule on that
That's
either.
even.
Detroit Public School is the organizer of the
See how
charter
weird
school.
that sounds?
Yeah, it does sound weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
So to me, it's like, overall, there's a big systemic issue with it, but we're not gonna figure that out today. As a Board of Ed, we wanna decide, are we okay with saying, yes, Detroit Public, you're allowed to use it for 1 more school year? That's all we're deciding today.
Mhm.
So how do we feel? I'm fine too, cause I feel like if they don't have it, they're just gonna start to tell the kids no, you know what I'm saying? I don't think they're gonna treat kids that are incarcerated with any type of humanity, so.
Right.
No specific shade to Detroit Public, but it's just the reality of,
I mean, we've
Yeah.
been doing it for so many years, I guess 1 more year, 1 more.
not so many years, I think we've only done it for 1 year. right?
2022, I believe.
Also a couple years,
Okay,
and then
couple
fixed
years.
it.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
Yeah.
they'd have the product done by next year, hopefully.
Hopefully before school starts. They're projecting it could be September.
But they would still wanna use the facility for the year, even if it's done?
No, they're just saying they're going over a school year, so they want the authority to operate for the next school year, 24-25 school year.
But if the building is ready,
They will move out.
yeah.
Yep.
Alright, no issues.
Same.
Yeah, no issues.
Do we have to do a formal vote, or are you just okay until we recess?
No, I'll sign on your behalf.
Okay, good. All right, so we're done with that?
Okay, all right. Next item is, construction governance.
Mhm.
So, this is really setting up, I don't believe I have anything on that, as a,
Mm.
you know, this is really just a effort to create guidelines and, procedures
Yeah.
for the construction.
Mhm.
That is transparent to the board. We provide levels of accountability, levels of authority. It also specifies, you know, if there's a 4-step process to approving invoices. It goes
Okay.
past our architect, construction manager,
Come on, you, number 3, who's?
by operations, and then I'm the final approver.
Okay.
But I look for those 3 approvers first, see if there's comment. We meet every week, every
Mhm.
Thursday, we meet in construction meetings.
Mm-hmm,
So if there's a question on one of these invoices, that's where we would discuss it
mm-hmm.
before approving. So it's just creating a way of conducting business with construction.
So this isn't like something you made up, this is something that's like standard in like a school system?
It is pretty standard.
Okay.
I use the same in previous districts.
Got it. Any questions about this process? All right, easy peasy, on to commissioning agent.
Commissioning agent, okay. All right, so this is, also with construction, it's a professional service that, so when we do a construction project, you might have 4 or 5 contractors
Mhm.
working on, you know, if it's windows, HVAC.
Yeah.
This is somebody that comes back and they inspect everything. They inspect to make sure that the functionality of everything is working as it says.
Mm-hmm.
They would also look at the blueprints. They would look at, you know, just making sure that if there's something wrong, they
Mhm.
would be the district's advocate to get this corrected.
Mm-hmm. So what does it cost us?
This is actually, we just held a bid today for this.
Okay.
It's going to be for 3 years, $36,000 per year.
And so it's almost like an insurance plan?
It's a good way of putting it, yeah.
Okay.
It's a independent set of eyes that comes back and says, you know, looks at it, they look at, like I say, just making sure that everything is operating, and it's operating efficiently, and, it meets the specs that were in the design.
Say it again, you said 3 years and how much?
I believe it's approximately 36 per year.
36,000 per year?
Yeah, so it's about $100,000.
And do you plan on using the commissioning agent every year?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, for all the projects that we currently have.
Yep. Okay. Any questions? All right. Rewall performance bond.
Okay. I don't know, is Mike here?
I am.
Oh, jeez, okay. You're gonna be up
Thank you
pretty
for
soon.
being patient.
Yeah, so, this actually has to do with Mike a little bit.
Okay.
This is a, performance bond. Frank Rewald is our construction manager. And, when we, so we're going back and we're doing sort of a forensic, look at everything that we've done.
Mhm.
When we looked at the contract with our attorney, it came up that there was a performance bond that should have been secured by Frank Rewald.
Mhm.
At that time, we said, you know, let's go out, get the bond. Those bonds are reimbursable by the district. The bond's about $188,000, which will, you know, the district will have to reimburse them for. Yeah, a bond really secures us. It's like an insurance policy, so work is done timely, is done well, and then we can go against our bond if that person were to walk away. So, you know, not saying they're going to, hopefully not, but, you know, Frank Rewald, if they just say, you know, we're not doing this work, we could go against the bond to get the work done.
So we pay 188K yearly for it, or is it
No,
just one-time
that's
fee?
just a one-time
Okay,
fee.
one-time fee.
Yeah. covers all the projects.
The district pays for it,
Yes,
not a
we
tax thing.
reimburse.
okay, and so if we don't, like, say Frank Rewold's amazing, and they do their job,
Mhm.
we don't use the bond, do we get that money back, or how's
No.
that? Okay, but so it would be but if we did need to use them, they would cover the cost of what?
They would cover the cost of getting somebody else in to do the work.
Okay,
And do it on time. So, let's say we had, let's say the high school,
okay,
the HVAC project next year, somebody starts it, and you can jump in, you know, if I'm saying something wrong.
sorry, grab a seat, grab a mic.
Yeah. So we, to make sure that we stay on time, we could go against their bonds and we would get somebody else to do the work. Now, that's not something that anybody in construction wants, because then you can't get bonded, your bond costs go up. Also, the other part about this, as I understand, with federal regulations, with ESSER, this
Mhm.
is required,
Okay,
this bond. So, did,
That's correct. And just the ESSER, these bonds are required for the state, but under different scenarios. With ESSER, the requirement is strictly that Frank Rewald has to pay the bond, as a construction manager, versus like having the contractors provide them. So with ESSER, your contract is with us, therefore ESSER says we have to provide that bond.
okay,
And that, as Jim said, the forensics going back through this, state is a little bit different, but because it was the ESSER funds, that's why this is kind of coming back into play,
Okay.
because of that requirement, so.
any questions?
I would like to just add real quick.
Yeah.
The cost of the bond is basically, as we set up with Hamtramck, we competitively bid every 3 years with a state-approved contract. And these dollar amounts or these fees that are charged for the bond are part of that annual, or every 3-year annual bid process. So it's not something we're just making up, it's a part of that whole bid process, so it's not it's just a given amount that has to be paid for the bond.
Thank you. Any questions about the bond? All right, construction updates, I think you might still be here for that.
okay, I'm gonna take on the first one,
Yeah.
DE asbestos. So part of this is an update, actually. So at the May 1st board meeting, the board allowed us to go out for bids to not exceed certain amount
Yep.
for asbestos and for a consultant. So we actually have that information now. So the abatement that was not to exceed $110,000 actually came in at $74,000. The consulting, which was not to exceed $45,000, came in at $31,000. So, good news there. And then the other part is, I'm not sure when the bid on the finishing work of the inside, tomorrow? Okay. So tomorrow, we're going to be accepting bids for the work on the inside of the windows at DE. That's where we're having the asbestos removed. And then they have to do finishing carpentry on the inside of the windows. You know, as Mike just said, that bid is tomorrow. We'll bring that to the June 27th meeting, and we estimate that's gonna be somewhere in the $400,000 range.
Did we end up staying under what we had initially guessed, or no?
The first two bids, yes.
Yes, but this next one, how much are we over?
We don't know. It's
Yeah.
opens tomorrow.
Oh, it hasn't opened, I see what
Yeah,
you're
opens
saying, yep, okay.
Yep.
Thank you for that update, any questions about the DE asbestos project? Okay, we're good, HVAC.
No, I'm gonna turn the HVAC over to you.
So, all the projects, we have 2 window projects ongoing right now, both at Dickinson East and the high school. The high school's been underway now for the month of May, or most of the month of May. And Dickinson East is all ready to go. We've coordinated with the asbestos contractors and that kind of thing, so that they're ready to go next week as well. So the 2 window projects are in good shape, and things are moving in the right direction. HVAC wise, we have Dickinson East and the high school, which Dickinson East, everything was approved, but most of the work will be done some of the work will be done, it will not be finished until next year. The equipment is on order and ready for delivery. The high school equipment is on order and will be delivered, sometime in October, November. So those projects are ongoing and, really will not finish up until 2025.
When in 2025?
The summer of 2025, what'll have to happen is we'll have to shut down the schools to install the new equipment, but the new equipment would not have been here soon enough to shut down the school this year. So we're getting the equipment to make sure we can have it in time to shut down the school next summer to do the work.
Plus, it also takes ESSER dollars, so we'll have ESSER dollars to pay for the equipment and some of the work at DE, the pre-work, and then some of the money from, ESSER, well, actually, we'll go over that a little bit at the end here. We have some money in the general fund that is going to be used for the construction because ESSER runs out this year. So we'll have to use general fund dollars to install the HVAC at the high school and if it's in East, and I believe that high school might be over 2 summers. Correct?
Yeah, we're hoping to do it over one, but because it hasn't been actually bid yet, we haven't been able to deal with the contractors and the manpower and stuff.
So do
We're
you,
hoping to be able to do work like after hours and beforehand to get ready for the summer so that it can be done. The high school's a big building, right, so it's, there's a lot of work to happen.
right, but will it also be done by summer 2025? Or?
It'll be operational come fall of 2025, but some rooms, like some wings of that building may not have the new equipment in it yet. So the old equipment would still operate in some, new in some.
When will it be completed, possibly?
If it doesn't happen by the fall of 2025, we'd redo it again the summer of 2026. Cause again, you have to shut down the entire system to add the equipment that's
And
needed.
remind me, so these HVAC projects, would fix heating and cooling in those buildings?
Correct,
Okay.
correct. It'll be just like what's happened at ECE, basically, the units that are there. Those don't operate yet because of the power problems, but that same type of unit is in place.
The good news, the
Can they
power is
tackle,
being
like,
installed
you
next
know,
week.
Next week.
Place of the building first versus the, the basement
Okay.
stuff? Can you guys tackle like the worst place or side of the building first? As far
Well,
as,
Yeah, and so the big thing is, we would probably focus on the plant work, the boilers and the things that would feed all of the school. That would be the focus in 2025. Depending on the manpower we get, then we can stake out into the rooms. And, at that point, it doesn't matter to us which areas, we can coordinate with the school district, the principals, whatever, to make sure that the best, the most needed areas are getting hit first. But the plant, that feeds everything, that's the piece that really has to be done first over the summer 2025.
please plan for that. That'd be helpful.
So are those the only projects we have for HVAC?
No, then the other one is Holbrook,
Okay.
well, there's two actually, Holbrook, which will be starting next week. But everything there is, again, contract was awarded a long time ago, all the equipment is ready, all that's done, so they're ready to go and, should be no problem to finish that this summer. Power needs over there have been taken care of already, so that's not an issue.
Okay.
The other one is, KMS and Dickinson West. That project they've been working on now after hours for the last couple months, getting ready for the summer, to hit it hard in the summer. That'll be finished by, the end of the summer. There is one, piece to that we've all experienced here the last year is Detroit Edison. I think we're way ahead of the game with Detroit Edison this year, but we are still waiting for some paperwork from them.
You mean DTE?
Easements with DTE.
Oh, okay. Is that what they're called, Detroit?
Yes.
What's the T
You're
stand
not
for?
checking your bills then.
No, I always see DTE, what does the T
Yeah.
stand for?
Detroit Edison is old, so
Mhm.
that they're DTE now, but I'm sorry,
No, but what does the T stand for? I'm curious.
I think it's, I think it had something to do with, telephone, I think.
No way, that'd be absurd.
Detroit Telephone and Electric?
Yeah, Detroit Telephone and Electric, I think is,
Wow, I learned something new. Okay, so this is, before that, I get distracted by that. So KMS DJW, they're working for, after hours for the past couple months, working with DTE to get the electrical thing. That's why they broke the portable then and put that thing in?
yeah, so the portable demolition is scheduled for next week as well.
So that hasn't happened, okay, but
Yeah.
you need that to happen for the energy.
Correct,
Okay, got it. And then that will also be done by this summer?
yes.
Okay. Summer 2024.
And we did meet with staff in the schools, we held a,
Couple
first,
times.
yeah, a couple times, you know, Mike, his crew, the district, Plant Moran held, you know, multiple meetings, we also went out recently and held voluntary meetings, you know, just to talk to staff that had any concerns, you know, we actually went to some of the rooms, tried to show that, you know, they're concerned about, you know, where unit ventilator is gonna go, or a window, that type thing, so, you know, we tried to get out and meet with as many people as possible.
Did Tau Beta need any work, or did we?
They did that last year.
That was.
Theirs is
previous.
done?
Yeah, that's done.
So Tau Beta and EC are fully done.
Well, EC is not fully done yet.
Okay.
That project, DTE, that work is starting next week.
Okay.
So it couldn't be finished until all the power needs were done,
Mhm.
and that is scheduled, so that'll be, again, done this summer, 100% completed this summer, but DT is to start next week.
Got
And
it.
so you scared me,
So
wondering what was
So
left
forgetting
there.
building?
Tell them that's it.
Tau Beta's done.
Tell me it's
DE
Huh?
and
Tau
Ham
Beta's
High.
done.
Hopefully, DE summer 2025, high school functional by fall 25, but might be complete in summer 26. Holbrook will be finished this summer. DW, KMS this summer, ECE this summer. Are we forgetting a building?
DE
Did you say
is
ECE?
next year.
ECE, no, I said, I got DE as summer 25,
Okay.
Ham High latest, fall, summer 26. Holbrook, KMS DW, and ECE will all be done this summer.
What about Horizon? That should be.
Horizon is
Horizon
good.
was completed already, the admin building's completed, the community center's been completed, and Talbeta's been completed.
All right.
Now, there's one thing at this building, DTE gas, not electric, but DTE gas still has to change the meter and working
So
to get
DTE
them to
just
get
been
that done.
delaying you.
Oh, I worked with them.
That's weird. All right. Any other questions?
How about here? It's hot. in here.
Admin, they did it. They said they already did it. Well, we might be moving buildings. Do we need to do anything at the Clement building?
We'll get to that.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Any other questions for him?
No, thanks.
Thank you so much.
Right.
Before we run out
Well,
of
yeah,
steam.
that's coming up. Next one is the elevator options.
Yeah.
So, based on our previous discussions, we were going to do, basically a remodel, and then we were looking at, you know, possibly a replacement.
Yeah.
So when we get into the replacement, we, contracted with an architect, and we also brought engineers in to do a study on the elevator. We have to do that in order to prepare specs to bid. So, you know, there'll be an option, we'll be able to go out to bid once we have the specs, and then we'll be able to do, I believe, a better comparison of what, you know, the modernization versus replacement.
How long the study will be taking?
We should have the bid documents ready by the end of the summer, and then, so either way, it's not going to get worked on this summer, because we missed that timeline to do anything, because they have to manufacture parts. We worked with Cone to say, you know, let's put that on hold until we get more information, and then we can make a better decision. And, you know, they've worked with us to say, okay, that's fine, you know, we'll wait and we'll see, you know, how it works out, and then look for a summer of 24, 25 installation, either way.
Okay. DTE does have a history to their name. It was Detroit Edison, and they just called themselves DTE Energy. That's the new name. They didn't come up with T's.
The T just came up,
They just
they
came
added
up with
it
it. It's DTE Energy from Detroit Edison in 1996. So, okay, that, I went down that rabbit hole, but for the elevator project though, have you guys looked into the numbers to see if it would be worth,
I'm sorry? Who?
worth like stretching out the elevator? Cause remember we had looked at like, just all of it and like
Yeah,
cutting it.
that's gonna be a little difficult because, once you get into expanding the shaft of the elevator, then, I mean, also when we do a replacement, we're also trying to consider, you know, at that point, you have to bring it up to code. Not saying that's
Oh, are we
not
not?
to code now, but
Okay.
it's just code changes. And then once you put a new one in, you're gonna have to do more work possibly to get a new elevator.
There's a lot of code changes with elevators that don't really affect the elevator operation.
Okay.
It's the ancillary things to the elevator,
Mhm.
and that would have to be all brought up. And in your case, that could be a lot of work with the high school, just based on the age of the
Okay,
installation.
alright, but we're looking at, so possibly starting when and ending when?
It would be a summer 24-25 install or, modernization, one of the two, because I think they, install would take, well, it would take more than 2 weeks. I think that the modernization does too, so it would definitely be a summer project, and then that's where we'll have to consider HVAC coordination with the elevator.
Wait, so are you guys starting it this year or not? This is where I got lost.
No, it would be a summer of 2025.
25, okay.
But we would bid it
This year, okay.
And then for, 24-25 install.
This year, so it'll be done by summer 25.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions about the elevator project? But we're bidding for what? Sorry, are we bidding for,
Either
Just-
change it or fix it.
Yeah, it'd be a replacement if we're bidding out.
and, so all of it, like the insides and, okay.
Brand new, right?
Any other questions?
Along with the brand new comes a lot of other things that they have to do to make, put it right.
Yeah. So,
Cause
you
we
know,
talked about refurbished as well, so.
Right. The refurbished, they don't have to do those ancillary things.
Mhm.
If you put the new in, you also have to do the ancillary things.
Yeah.
and so, you know, part of the issue too is why we brought in an architect and engineers is because we can't just, first of all, we can't go out to bid
Mhm.
without getting more information, getting specs on it, and then drawing up, you know,
Of course.
that goes back to our governance plan. So we have to follow that, and, I mean, we couldn't just go out and say, give us a bid on an elevator. I mean, we went out and got an estimate, I think the estimate was somewhere around $400,000, but they don't know what that implies with bringing it up. So,
Okay.
and the bid will provide us that information.
Thanks.
Okay. Good, that's good.
Okay, thanks. We already talked about the finished carpentry.
Yeah, before we lose steam, can we just jump right to the budget amendment?
Oh.
Yeah,
Sure. Yeah.
get ready for that.
Any questions on the locker?
Oh yeah, if you wanna stay for that, Mike, then we can do the locker. Locker room bid, is that quick?
Looking for the ESSER budget?
Not, sorry, I think the budget amendment.
Yeah. Okay, so this is really a preliminary budget. So I guess bottom line, revenues are about the same. There have been some adds, some removals. If you look down in, like, other.
Question, did, Yao and Yao, did you employ their recommendations in this budget amendment? They had,
We've implemented their recommendations
already?
in operations.
Yeah,
But it really doesn't have to do with the budget so much,
got it, okay,
except for putting in the system.
Okay.
It is in the system.
alright,
So, just highlight a couple of the, big differences, like added needs and instruction so remember, we talked about the accelerated learning coaches, so when I did the budget amendment, we built the $2 million in.
do you have
So-
like a little arrow thing to point at the line you're looking at?
Oh,
Thank you.
right there, okay. So in this number, we had built the accelerated coaches, again, that's at $2 million that we had to hire accelerated coach for each building. Excuse me, that was in the March amendment. We're not going to be utilizing that this year, so I removed it from the revenues and the budget. So now, just as a pre-warning, we're going to be bringing up to 20 positions to the 27th board meeting for approval, once we have the accelerated coach job description.
Like, we're voting on 20 brand new positions to bring to the district?
Voting on allowing us to do it, so creating new positions. We'll be creating the accelerated learning coaches.
Oh, y'all
So-
gonna send that ASAP. We're not reviewing that in 3 days.
We have it. So the idea is that we'll hire 8 permanent, and then when those 8 permanent, you know, the funding is removed for those 8 permanent, will go to title funding in 25, 26. Really, the other differences, bottom line, expenses actually decreased about $200,000. Overall, we're, you know, about, the operating deficit is about $27,000 more. I don't see that as, you know, the 1.5, right now, we're looking at, we're going through year end, we're doing the moving to grants, we're looking at, where we've paid people throughout the year, if they should be in grants. One of the items that was brought out in the audit was IDEA flow-through. In 22, 23, we didn't utilize the 400,000. We received 430,000 additional this year. We've utilized those funds, so that actually took about $800,000 out of the general fund and put it into a grant.
What line are you at, Jim?
That's just overall.
Oh.
Some of that is up in this area, and then also in basic instruction. So overall, we're about the same place we were at the amendment.
Okay,
Okay.
questions? Questions? All right, we're good to move along?
All right, thank you. Let's see. Next one is paraprofessionals. So,
Do you wanna go over the locker room bid, cause Mike's here? Or
I'm sorry?
The locker room.
The locker room,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You're fine.
So, we actually, we put a bid out for the locker rooms. The locker rooms, we're looking at removing all the lockers that's near the pool, and this will be staging for the HVAC equipment that will be done next summer. So we need to remove all the lockers. We're going to actually, we'll keep about 20 lockers or so per side for the pool,
Okay.
and the rest will be an open area where in, you know, possibly, you know, one could be used for like a workout room. In the following year, we're looking at, you know, if we possibly put in bathrooms in the high school, it'd be perfect where the girls' locker room is now. It's right behind the auditorium, it's in the middle of the school. The bathrooms are all on one end of the school, first and second floor. So this would provide restroom facilities in the
Oh, they
middle.
are. Right, the left side of the building, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And they're pretty small,
Yeah.
so, you know, that's one of the things that we're going to be putting on our, you know, facility study, and then that would have to be prioritized by, you know,
So how
the
many
board.
lockers are currently in those rooms?
Ooh, a lot, yeah, the girls, maybe, what would you say, it's 100 by,
I mean, there's probably 300 lockers in there at least.
And
what
so-
would you say the size of the room is?
I do not
The
know.
top part, yeah.
It's a huge room.
Right, but then, so if you take out all those lockers and leave just 20, and then you're gonna use that space to hold the equipment for the HVAC stuff?
The boys' side will be used for the equipment.
Yeah,
And we'll build a temporary
We'll
wall.
build a temporary wall there just to, so it's not accessible to anyone.
yeah, but then after that, we don't plan on putting the lockers back?
No.
Okay,
Basically, you're taking a space that is unusable now, nobody uses it, it's just a collection, and you're gonna create open space.
could we auction off those lockers?
They're,
Oh,
Rusty,
Yeah, they're not usable.
decades ago.
They're not even salvaged.
they've been used up.
Yeah.
It's been
Yeah.
forever.
really, I've never, what they look like?
They
Well,
put
to say
paint on them,
retail,
that's about it.
all the lockers in the high school too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
they are small.
So we get rid of them, we don't ever bring those back, but then we try to utilize the girl side for bathrooms and then the boy side for a workout room?
Well, the girls' side, we've got the idea that we could put a boys' and girls' bathroom in the front facing the hall, and then it's actually quite a large area, you know, that's right behind the auditorium.
Uh-huh,
That'd be a perfect spot, you know, for, you know, band instruments, theater, changing rooms, that type of thing,
uh-huh.
to utilize for the auditorium, because it's right off the stage.
Well, the auditorium is,
What?
That's another one.
that's what I was gonna say,
Yeah, it's running late now.
another conversation on the auditorium.
Auditorium is a nice, has nice bones.
Yes,
Some
It needs
cute-
we'll discuss it.
some love.
Yes, okay. Alright, that makes sense, alright, so you guys are gonna put out the bids when?
We already received the bid back. The bid was $176,929.
Just tear down the lockers?
There's more to it,
Okay.
because the lockers are actually raised,
Uh-huh,
so you have to grind that down, and then you're gonna have to replace that, and some carpentry work, I believe.
yeah, so the locker bases are concrete and masonry and wood, and so when you take the lockers off, they still stick above the floor, so you have to tear all that out. And those bases happen to go 3 inches below, there's a nice terrazzo floor in that room, in
Uh-huh.
those rooms, but the base actually goes down to your structural slab, which is below that. So then you have to tear all that out, and then you have to pour new concrete, so you have a level finished floor. And then there's a little bit of carpentry, the temporary wall that has to be put up, and then, one other thing.
you don't have to explain it to me today, I got it, it's more than just tearing out lockers.
You want pictures?
Actually,
Next
yes,
time?
yes.
That'd be nice.
Everything.
Been there?
Huh?
We'll bring some
Been in the
pictures.
I
locker room?
think I never had to be, that's not what it looks
You
like.
didn't have swimming?
No, I was excused, I
You
didn't have
have
to
the
do it.
drawing that we bid off of, it's very good, it explains everything, shows the layouts and the work.
Okay,
And is that gonna be approved at the 627 meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
what's gonna be approved, say again?
The lockers will be on the
Oh, yeah, cause we're
27th.
not meeting in July, so everything has to be by June 27th. Okay, sounds good. Any questions? Alright, now we can get into the multilingual pyramid.
Okay. Yeah, I think so. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Alright, so, with the paras, we were, been in talks with, HFT, the union, talking about ways to recognize our paras that, utilize bilingual skills.
Do you want Tony up here, if you would talk to the union, or are you explaining it? Tony, are you guys talking about this together, or no?
We have been, yeah. So-
Okay, if you wanna come up, you can come up, we're explaining this. Okay, keep going, so HFT and the district.
Yeah, so we've been, you know, talking about for,
Mm-hmm.
you know, a couple months, just trying to figure out what would be something that would be equitable, something that would recognize the skills that, right now, well, I guess I'll just say, I don't think that we compensate people for the skill that they're using.
That is
Because
fair.
they're talking to our parents, to our students. So what we've been trying to figure out is how could we recognize that through, you know, a stipend, an increased pay, you know, so we've got some ideas that, you know, we're sort of narrowing in on it. And one of the things is that we were looking at, you know, how would we, you know, test the paras. What we thought is, you know, because if you look at, for students, you know, it talks about if they bring their transcripts and
Yeah,
current paras, we understand that that may not be a possibility. So
do you still have your transcripts from K-12?
I actually do, yeah.
Oh my gosh,
'Cause,
I don't think I have one.
Yeah, but if, I maybe lose
No, you said you're looking at the options.
Yeah.
They're figuring how to, you know,
Yes.
and that people are
So-
actually fully literate
Yes.
in both languages, right?
Mhm.
And how to determine that,
Mhm.
and then figuring out how to compensate for that.
Mhm.
And then, you know, kind of as time has gone, I mean, there's lots going on in the district. You know, so it's like conversation after conversation.
Yeah.
You know, I learn more and more stories about what some of our folks who are bilingual are doing well outside their job description,
Yeah.
their normal job description. Like I just heard today about somebody at the high school, and I
Mhm.
was like, yes, so this has gotta get fixed. So, you know,
Yeah.
before summertime is done, we'll have something, clearly.
And how we would possibly test it is we would have an interpreter,
Mhm.
you know, say, you know, here, interpret, put this language into your language,
Mhm.
and then have a conversation, to show the skill,
Mhm.
the practical skill of conversing with our parents and students.
That's interesting, because 3 languages that are spoken in the district are not standard by, like, I would say, I'm gonna say corporate, but that's not what I mean. So like the Yemeni dialect in Arabic is not standard, so standard is usually Levant Arabic, or if someone has some insight on it, they do modern Fusha, so like traditional, so our dialect wouldn't be a part of that, and that's our population here. Bangla is the language of all the languages in the Desi region, it's like the least known one. And then Bazin is 50-50. I don't think they have dialects beyond the one, but I guess, not I guess, I know what I'm asking. Who would the interpreter be? Because if it's someone doing modernized Arabic and doesn't speak Bangla, are they really assessing fairly?
I mean, that's what we've gotta sort out, and there are lots of questions to look at, and then we have a growing Ukrainian population coming in.
But that language is like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I get, there's a standard.
Not even a standard, the dialects don't even vary, so like specifically with Yemeni Arabic, like
Yeah.
there's Gulf Arabic, but then there's also our dialect as a people. Like the dialects vary vastly, and if we're gonna use like an interpreter who does, you know, standard Fusha or Levant Arabic, that's not colloquial to the community you're reaching out to. Because it's not slang, it's a whole dialect, it's the way the words are used, it's the way that things are emphasized. So I think putting a pin specifically for Arabic, find someone who speaks the Yemeni dialect. It cannot just be standard, it cannot be
Yeah.
Levant, it cannot be Egyptian, it has to be.
No, I'm glad you're saying that, so that way we
Yeah.
put that away. in our
Because
head.
even in Bangla, like, the city has the right to translate dialects in Bangla, but just the way that things are roughly done with who they work with, sometimes it's easier to get the English ballot as a Bangla speaker. So these are just kind of things to consider. When you're a marginalized population in regions that are tend to be known as like one thing, it's hard to kind of get the services, because then how are you credentialing? How are you certifying? And that's kind of where that barrier comes in. So specifically in Hamtramck with the Yemeni population, please look for someone who speaks the Yemeni lahja. We have 2 board members you guys could probably use, to be honest. They're fully literate in the language, and I'm not calling y'all out and you guys shouldn't do the work, and there's a whole thing in that, but I'm just saying, like, there's a difference between the Arabic, I can speak on it from experience, world of difference. You can't just bring in a general translator or interpreter, because there's no general to it. If you're really talking to our parents, you have to have that Yemeni lahja, and it's gonna help them out, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But, yeah. Awesome, thank you for that update. Any questions, though? And sorry, just for my clarity, it is specifically like you're gonna pay them for that skill set, correct?
I'm sorry?
We're gonna pay them for that skill set if once we
Yeah,
can,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, absolutely. We're just trying to,
Figure it out.
we've got some ideas, you know, I think we'll find out.
Yeah, so, y'all are working together, I don't think I have any issues about that. We'll make it to the end, woo, alright,
Lagarda.
yes.
All right, so the Lagarda contract, the board asked for some more information
Mhm.
on Lagarda, and what Bruce Coltman,
Mm-hmm,
he was already on it the next day.
mm-hmm,
He went out and he met with principals, he asked them, you know, questions, how's it with guard, what do they do? I mean, you know, it's like any service, you have some good, some bad,
mm-hmm,
but what we find is Lagarda is receptive to making the change. If there is an issue, for instance, in your drive, one of the things at Holbrook, you know, we had a guard, actually Holbrook had not had a guard
mm-hmm,
until this year.
mm-hmm,
Talbeda had not had a guard until this year. So when, we sent a guard over to Holbrook, there was a fight, the guard left. So, you know, at that point, we said, we need somebody that, you know, could,
Okay, well, you can read the feedback.
and they're happy with their new guard. What we find is that the guards become part of the school community.
Mhm.
I would say Bridget at the high school, she's at the door, she's the lead. Pretty amazing, she worked at, I believe, Blue Cross Blue Shield for 37 years in an administrative role. You know, just, she works well with the kids, she enjoys what she does. You know, one of the things that I want to do, and I want to get to where we're asking the students things.
Yep.
So, you know, and eventually parents too, but I think the people that are most affected are the students. We just haven't had time this year to get in to meet, you know, with student council, and get input, but by approving this contract at the 27th meeting, it gives us that year to do a little bit more looking into it. You know, their increase for the regular guard is 2.5%, for the supervisor it's 2.1%. Very reasonable increase for the next year. They've agreed to extend for 1 year. Now, what Bruce and Keenan and Chris have put in place is they actually go and meet with the principal. The company goes and meets
The
with the principal.
Guardian will meet with each building principal?
Yes.
Okay, just
And
for what
they,
then?
well, what they do is they're meeting with them to say, how's it going? Are there any issues, training issues? So it's a little bit more customer service.
Okay. Any questions? All right, I'm ready to the windmill. Conan Joseph Campo updates.
Okay, so Conant Building, coincidence, we just received the keys today, so, they turned the keys over to us, we'll be changing the locks. I can bring pictures of that too, we actually, so the space that was ours for 4 years, is somewhat of a blank space, and not as usable as the dentist and the medical space. Actually, I haven't seen the dentist's office yet, I'm gonna see it tomorrow.
Okay.
But the medical site they have these 8x10 rooms, offices, you know, they were rooms where they work with the patients. One hallway has 10 or 12 of them, ideal for our special education people that are out in the buildings. You know, they come back, they have a desk, they can come back and they can do paperwork, they can do filing. Another row has about 8 offices, be perfect for curriculum department, they can all be in one area, they can work together. I think the space is going to work out well for office space, for meeting space. I know that we were looking at doing our August 7th board meeting over there.
Yeah.
You know, maybe we could temporarily do something in the space that is sort of a blank slate, if you
Yeah, we
will.
can set it up that we don't have to change the date of our meeting.
Yep, no, we are looking at it. Unfortunately, the rooftop units are about 21 years old. The roof itself is good, but the units will need replacing
What do you mean the units?
sometime soon. I'm sorry?
The HVAC and.
Yeah, the HVAC.
Okay.
Are they operational?
They're operational, yep.
So if we move admin building over to Kona, could we utilize this building for?
Well, the thought is that we're gonna leave, HR here, business and superintendent, so this will be a place where, employees can come. It could also be a training area for employees until we get the other site to where, I'll just put it this way. I'm not sure that is the priority to spend money on at this point.
Okay, yeah.
You know, that will be determined when we do a facility study. Right now, we're trying to get in at a reasonable price. Because we have staff that, you know, are sitting in the hallway, we need to provide staff somewhere that they have a
Space to
place.
work, yeah.
Yep, yep. So, I think we'll be able to do that at a reasonable cost.
Mhm.
And then as time goes, when we prioritize that to
Mhm.
do more,
I think
that's
that's
when we
fair.
could do that.
Sounds good.
Any questions about Kona before we go to just Capel Building?
Joseph Kempa. Okay, sorry. So we've actually had some people that wanted to look at that.
Mhm.
We've toured it with a couple of people. I'm waiting for another group that is interested, but we don't seem to be able to make contact. One group has actually had engineers in looking at it.
So you're looking to sell the building?
It's a possibility that
Mhm.
we could sell it.
How do we feel as board members about selling the just Capel Building?
Are there any options that we can use it for the district?
Technology, we talked about maybe technology move there.
Yeah, I think the Conant building is surprisingly large.
Mhm.
I mean, there is I think it'd be a great idea if we have the August 7th meeting there. You can get in, you can see things there. I mean, it's set up very well for technology. They have it's a dentist office, so they have a reception area. You come in, you have, a reception desk, everything. I think it will serve multi-purposes, possibly more than what the other building might be able to provide us. That building needs, I would say, quite a bit of work. I mean, I know it has a history, and, there's really local artwork in it that we'd like to preserve, but the building itself is a little rough, I would say.
Even if we partner with community college or something like that?
That's a possibility, yeah. I mean, we're not selling it right away. I mean, we just
Yeah,
have people interested, they're looking, that would be a much bigger conversation with the board, if it ever comes to that point. So, at this point, that's the update for both buildings.
Sounds good.
And then, again, I think that's, I would like to put both buildings on our facilities study list. And then that's when we have a discussion, and we say, what is our priority? And then, when you set those priorities, then you also set how we're gonna fund it.
Mhm.
So, it might come down to a decision. At that point, you say, well, this is a higher priority than this. At what year are we gonna be able to fund this? 5 years, 3 years, what are we gonna do with it in that time? I would say the Conant building is move-in ready somewhat, more than the other building. So,
That's an update.
that's our update, okay. All right, so, actually, with ESSER update, the state has a website that, just hold on a second. So the state has a transparency website, so when we, do an application, we receive a grant, we have to do a final expenditure, we have to do a budget, then we do a final expenditure report to the state. State takes that information and they've put it up on this website. So the first one is ESSER formula. Right here is the website that you can go to for the dashboard. So ESSER formula was $3.17 million. Here you can see that we spent
That's total, right?
total for ESSER
3?
formula.
Oh.
No, this is formula. So we spent all the money. The next dashboard tells you how we spent it. So salary benefits, purchase services, supplies, other, it just gives you bar charts of how it was spent, where it was spent. The next one is ESSER equity. This was a smaller amount. This was about 71,000. Again, we spent all the funds. And here's how we spent the money, and total remaining 0. We go to, this is gear funds. This was 462.5, again, 0. We've spent all the funds. Just shows where we spent it, mostly supplies and materials. And then we get to our bigger ones. This is ESSER 2, where we saved almost $15.7 million. Again, you can see we fully expended the funds. And here's how we spent it. About half of it was salaries and benefits. And then the one that we have remaining is, oh, sorry, I thought we were getting to this. This is, yes, I'm sorry, this is ESSER 3.
Yeah.
So, to date, so this is a $35.2 million. To date, we've spent about $9 million, and we have, it looks like about 26 million left, which this is going towards our construction projects, which we've encumbered most of it. You've heard us talk about the timelines. And here's also a view on what we spent it on. So we have 26.4 remaining, needs to be encumbered by September 30th and spent by the end of December.
This year?
And most of that is encumbered on construction projects that you've already approved. You're going to approve the locker. I think, there are a couple more in here that will go into ESSER 3.
What is encumbering?
That means when it's a commitment, basically.
Okay.
So when we say the lockers, it's gonna be 176,000, we'll go out and whoever the vendor is will create a purchase order and it reserves that $176,000.
So the 26 mil, is mostly being spent on the HVAC projects and that?
Yes.
And so there's no extra money left?
Right now, we do have, a couple $1 million because part of that issue is the DE is, it's not going to be installed this year. We're just receiving the equipment. But now we're looking at how we would spend those funds. But some of this will take up that, the 400,000 for the interior of the windows at DE, the lockers. So we have some other projects that after the 27th, we'll be able to assess where we're at.
Okay.
And we have, 3 months left to
Could
plan.
we, if we have money left, could we possibly do something with the auditorium under a couple mil?
It's gotta be health and safety related, so it has HVAC and windows sort of fit in that.
Well, restrooms.
We can look into it, I would put it that.
Well, let us know if we'll have any left over first.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
We'll talk about it at the budget.
Perfect, all right. Any questions about that?
That's,
You guys, we did it, all right, we got through all the study
Audience.
session. Audience participation, all right, y'all, get ready. This portion of the agenda is for citizens to address any questions or comments to the board. The board will listen to comment, questions, and advisement in that respect. This time, the presiding officer will refer questions to the super for research and response. The only one I have is Tony Coral, come on up. Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, thanks.
I would like to start off with a couple of good things. I want to thank Jim for being available for a few last minute conversations. That's not something, that I've been able to do for a little while. And I want to thank the district for the food that was provided before graduation last week. It received, for those, staff members who were able to attend, it got glowing reviews. People were like, wait, this is real, and this is, I mean, because to be quite honest, this is where I'm gonna get to my point, because the trust between the staff and the district is very low. It's really, really quite poor, and that needs to be rebuilt. And it's going to take a lot more than some free food. Free food was nice, right? We'll take some free food again, but really, the way we're going to rebuild the trust is through having difficult conversations and deep listening about structural and substantial issues, right? And part of that rebuilding will be done working with the staff to begin to co-create some of the structures and some of the rules that are not currently in place. We have found and we seem to discover that there are a lot of silos in the district where, you know, one building's doing something one way and somebody's doing something another way, and nobody, oftentimes the right hand and the left hand don't know what they're doing. And so beginning to create those structures and those conversations, so that way there's some commonality and we feel like that we're an actual community. And so having those conversations is what we need to do, and not just having the conversations, but actually honoring the worker voices there in creating those rules. And as we kind of head into the summer, I want to just make sure that that's a seed that I'm able to plant here, and to remind us that to heal the district, and there are a lot of wounds, and there's a lot of trauma, and it's gonna take a while, and it's going to take all of us being really honest, and sometimes, you know, being ready to hear difficult things, because it has to happen, and the only way it'll happen is if our voices are fully honored and fully heard. So I just need to say that before we leave for the summer. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up, we have, do we have any other board business to discuss?
No.
All right, then this meeting is adjourned at